That's a good way to kick off the show.
Yeah.
High energy.
Who we listen to there, Micah?
Ganesha, for sure. They are in the studio working on a new album right now as we speak. So you can get into that. Just find it. If you can Google Ganesha, you'll find it, I'm sure. Ganesha Band, Ganesha, Texas, blah, blah. We're here at Freethinker Radio. We got a lot of music to get into.
We have a special guest in a few moments,
Yeah, we do. Mr. Clarence Evans.
Clarence Evans will be telling you all about his story.
Maybe one of the million plus that have seen the video.
Yeah, you may have already seen the video. And I'm actually going to see if we can get a censored version of that video to play on air in a few moments.
It's hard to be censored by the FCC while your rights are being violated, though.
Yeah, exactly. You know, your words don't always come out so FCC friendly whenever you're getting confronted by cops from your own front yard. But we'll get into all that in a moment. Micah, what has your week been like so far? What you got coming up this weekend?
Oh, goodness, this weekend. Huh? What is this? Here we go again. I'll tell you what I did do.
Weekly interrogation.
No, I don't think it's fair that you do that. Oh, well, I'm hoping that today we'll get some callers mostly. Let's talk about that. 713-526-5738. We always love to get into your views on what we're talking about and maybe some of the things we're missing. I did get out last weekend, and that was a lot of fun. Went out to the art walk in Galveston, got a little bit outside Houston, but not too far, not outside the KPFT reach down there, 89.5 Galveston. And I've been getting more and more invites to shows down there. I need to go to some of them, that's for sure. It's a beautiful place. And, you know, there's a lot of things going on in Houston. Thursdays are free at the museum. I meant to go last night, but I was just working too much. But we got some upcoming events we'll be talking about. We've got that one local, Brew and Grooves.
Yeah,
we've got some tickets
brews,
to that
local
we'll
grooves.
be giving away.
Do we still have those?
Yeah, we do. We've got some tickets for those, so we'll figure out how to organize you getting those tickets if you want. We'll talk about, I know Fox Parlor's on there. Who else is on that lineup?
Texture Yellow, I remember off the top of my head. Johnny's in the studio with us right now, too. Our producer, Johnny's back in the studio. So he's
lost his voice from partying so hard and screaming.
Yeah.
See, and
I'm
you
here.
could tell.
I'm not going to be vocal.
Well, yeah, Johnny, in case you didn't know, we got some free tickets, courtesy of the station, to an event this Saturday at House of Blues. It's called Local Brews, Local Grooves. There's going to be 15 different breweries. There's going to be like 15 different bands. And we have tickets to that, so if anybody calls in throughout the show, let Johnny know you'd like to get some of those tickets. You know, maybe share something interesting with us, and we'll get a pair of tickets to you at 713-526-5738. And I
do have those tickets. Thank
you.
Goodness.
Micah's got the tickets. Then we can actually guarantee it. Before I was just speaking without being certain, and
we
now
do that
we know.
sometimes. But hey, we're free to do that. We'd have to take it back, which we haven't yet. But yeah, we got tickets here. I know they cost money online, and it's at House of Blues. Always a fun place to get into, and tons of local bands and local brews. So yeah, something to add to today's fun. So yeah, we've got a few pair of these. So if you do call and you want a pair of tickets, just shout that out to Johnny. Don't shout, he's got a headache, he's hungover or something. He's knocking Gatorades back over there, but he's on the job.
You guys not just fry me in public?
So yeah, while Johnny recovers, we're gonna get some news. Hey, did you see, Micah? There's a new candidate for city council this week. Otherwise, occasionally, mostly known as Scarface, member of the Ghetto Boys, a legendary rap group here in Houston, otherwise known as Brad Jordan, running for District D in Houston, and that was a pretty big announcement. I mean, we were just talking about off air. It's crazy. This election season there's a lot of hype around the mayor's race because of the firefighters issue and other issues that are being raised.
All kinds of candidates.
I've noticed there's so many different candidates, and more candidates that I think aren't just the traditional kind of thing. I mean, like we talked to a candidate on last Friday's show, Seema Hernandez. I think she would call herself a progressive, and there are others, and there are some, just some people I think that are more independent or outside of that mainstream box, which is what we try to bring you here on Freethinker Radio. So that's cool.
Not the mainstream box, but the outside, the independent. Yeah,
not in the box. Get out of the box.
We have to. Otherwise, you're just falling into it, And maybe there's times where the box is comfortable, or something you learned in the box is real important, and you can teach us about that if you're in the box. But other than that, I don't know what else you can do, because it's about taking that out into the world and put it into action. So it's exciting, and I am pretty stoked that we have a guest today. Clarence Evans, and I'm looking forward to hearing from him. There's some new information that's supposed to be out as well. One other thing that we are looking forward to doing is speaking to more of the alternative candidates for mayor on the show. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, Derrick, as far as the other candidates for mayor, besides Bill King and Tony Busby and who's that other one, the 5G champion one? What's it?
Oh, yeah,
Thomas
that's Sylvester Turner.
Oh, sorry.
Sylvester Turner's the 5G champion.
Yeah,
we have Bill King, Tony Busby. There's Anton Dowles. There's Demetrius Smith. I can't remember.
What do you think about getting some like Demetrius Smith on here and Anton Dowell on here to maybe just talk to the people, let people know that they're running, because these races are nonpartisan.
Yep.
And it's a chance, we're here, in a way we're on the forefront of everything going on. And in another way, it's just your local town.
Yeah.
Speaking of local towns, I got one thing I want to announce. I'm so sorry to just divert everything, but that's how important this is to my heart.
Go for it.
It's a friend of KPFT birthday, and I want to wish them a happy birthday. Happy birthday out there, Doria. I want to, longtime listener, longtime supporter, helped us in different ways. Also, editor-in-chief of Red Publications, shot hundreds of videos for local bands that have used their pictures in their media kits and more. Spearheaded farmers markets, has done so much for the community that it's just a person that should be noted. And if you want to show some love, I know she's got a fundraiser going on. If you know her personally, you'll know how to get into that. But if not, it's just another media source. Red Publication is out there. It's a great way to find other things that are going on. Speaking of mayors, former Mayor Bill White mentioned them in the National Geographic interview, saying it was one of the three sources for information in Houston, which is
cool.
high praise
awesome.
for an alternative media.
I'd say
so. Happy birthday, Red
Shout
Pub,
out
and all
Doria,
that. Yep.
Pub.
Shout out to Red Publication and Doria. Happy birthday, and enjoy the music, enjoy the show. We do support all your listenership throughout the years.
All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get our guest on air.
Awesome.
We are having Clarence Evans. I'm just going to kind of set this up. I don't want to tell the whole story. We will be giving you some more 5G news related to Houston in just a bit, and we're going to talk about big things. I don't know if you've seen Micah, but there's all kinds of stuff going on in the world.
Well, this is going on.
This is an important issue so we reached out to Clarence. He's in Texas, and he's going to tell the whole story. But it's related to a lot of issues that we cover on here. We talk about police violence. We talk about police aggression. We talk about.
We can't finish one story before the next story is right there on our radar.
We talk about police, violence, police abuse. We talk about people's
rights.
People's rights. We talk about standing up and exercising and flexing your rights and things of that sort. So this is a part of that whole struggle, I guess you could say. And
For
Clarence
sure.
Evans, he is a black man who was accosted on his own front yard by a constable, Harris County constable, and that we're going to hear his story now. And the video that he live streamed through Facebook, it went live and over 1 million views.
Yeah, and this is just like within a month now, I think.
Yeah, this happened in early May, and he's now filed suit. So we're going to hear from Clarence. He's going to bring him online. I think we got him online right now. We'll get him in just a second. But this is an important issue that we wanted to bring to your attention because, as we said, it relates to a lot of topics that we cover. It's here in Texas.
And it affects everyone.
And it does affect everybody. And this is also a reality for plenty of people, and I want to say plenty of people of different backgrounds who are affected by this. And I think we got Clarence on the line. How are you doing?
How's it going?
Hey, brother. Good to have you on the line, man. Appreciate you taking some time. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hello, Clarence. Good to have you on today, standing up and talking about this, what's going on. People need to know. Often they don't know. They think it happens to someone else. They don't realize the importance of standing up for your rights.
Yeah. Actually, I was one of those people that thought it happened to everybody else except me. Yeah.
Go ahead and I've just been kind of briefly setting the stage for it, but tell everybody exactly what happened. I think it was May 8th, and just go ahead and fill everyone in.
Well, yeah, it was like I said, me and my son and my daughter was outside. Me and my son was tossing the football back and forth, and the sergeant actually pulled up in front of my house, and he mentioned something about a dog, and so I approached him because I actually breed. I have a dog and I breed him, but he wasn't outside at the time, so I, thought maybe he was coming by about some puppies or something. And then he told me that he had a report that my dog was stolen, and I told him that can't be because I own him and he's registered to me. And so then he asked me for my ID and my name. And if you notice through the video, I had my wallet in my hand the whole time. That's because I was actually in the process of showing him my ID. And I told him my name was Clarence, and that's when he grabbed me, and he said, no, it's not. He called me Reg at first, I think. He called me Reg, and he said, no, it's not. I know who you are. You got a warrant in Louisiana. So he never even gave me the chance to show him my ID. And then that's when I sent my son in the house to get my wife, and that's when the video started.
Okay, so that's where the video clips in. We are going to play the video in just a few moments. It's, of course, a censored version, but the video has been seen 1.2 million times just through your personal Facebook page. So it wasn't like this was on a news publication. It was just you going live through your personal page. So what happens once your wife starts streaming and the cop's there and he's basically trying to take you away? Take us through that situation.
Well, he kept telling me that, I know who you are, and I'm steady asking him, how can you tell me I have a warrant and you don't even know my name? Like I say, he didn't even give me a chance to show him my ID. And he just kept trying to arrest me, and I wouldn't let him, and I think that's when he called me Quentin. And he said, well, I have a photo, and I was like, okay, well, let me see the photo. And he's like, well, come to my car. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm on my property. I'm not coming to your car. You let me go, and you go get the photo if you want me to see it. And that's when the second officer pulled up, and he asked that officer to get his phone, which I don't understand why you wouldn't have a warrant in hand. Why would you have it in your phone? And he showed me and the other officer the photo, and if you look at the other officer's face, you can clearly see that officer knew that wasn't me. And then Sergeant Lindley still was trying to arrest me after the other officer told him it wasn't me in the photo. And that's when he snatched my wallet out of my hand, and he looked at my ID and gave it back, and then it was just like, okay, well, we're gone. No apologies or nothing.
Wow. So yeah, and I think I remember even in the video you say something along the lines that you could see the officer shaking, or you could feel him shaking.
Yeah, that was the main reason I didn't want him to handcuff me or put my hands behind my back, because obviously he was frightened, he was scared.
And we know often officers say that they feared for their lives when they end up shooting somebody or beating them down or something like that.
Yeah, I just feel like he was trying to set the narrative to in case something happened, he can say, okay, yeah, I was in fear for my life. That's why I didn't want to turn my back on him, because if I make a sudden move or something, he might shoot or tase me, and that's going to be his excuse that he was in fear for his life. And my whole thing is, if you're frightened, in his eyes, I'm this Quentin guy. He thought I was Quentin. He thought I was a wanted fugitive out of Louisiana. So if you're coming to arrest a wanted fugitive, why would you come alone? Why would you come by yourself, especially if you're frightened?
Yeah.
And so since that time, you and your attorneys have filed a lawsuit just in the last days. Can you tell us a little bit about that? You still there, Quentin? Excuse me, Clarence? I think we lost them, did we, Johnny? All right, we'll see if we can get Clarence back on the line in case... Yeah, I think he's calling again now. We'll get him back on there and continue this.
So he's outside with his... Whoa, we don't want that. So he's outside with his children when this happens, and that's even a little bit more alarming,
Yeah, he had to send the kids in while the wife filmed, and as he said, the officer was shaking. He was, in a situation where he's like, he doesn't feel safe going to the car while the officer is clearly nervous already, and who knows how he might react in that situation. But yeah, we want to just give him to give an update on the latest on the lawsuit that I believe that they just filed in the last couple of days. He has a couple of attorneys working with him, and I do know that they were actually able to finally get the picture of the man the police thought he was, this Quentin Prigine, I think is his full name. And
so we can see if he looks anything like him.
He is a wanted fugitive, this other guy, and we'll have Clarence. All right, Clarence, you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I accidentally pressed the FaceTime button.
It's okay, brother. So go ahead and tell us now a little bit about, we know that you filed a suit in the last couple of days. Tell us about that.
Well, I felt like that was necessary because we still haven't got any answers, not even an apology. And his Mark Herman, the constable, his reason was because we haven't filed a complaint. But like you said yourself, just on my page, it has been viewed over 1 million times. So you see the problem, and you see what happened that day. So why do I have to file a formal complaint for you to even feel the need to apologize or address the problem? He won't even address the problem.
So what are in the lawsuit? Are you guys seeking? I know you're interested in getting the body camera footage, and I was just mentioning that the footage or the picture of the man they were actually looking for has just been released. What else would you like to see as a result of this lawsuit?
Change is most important to me. Like I've been saying over and over again, those precinct 4s in my neighborhood every day. I just saw one just pass by, and it's like every day they just ride through looking for crime, like waiting for something to happen. Maybe they should drive by and meet the residents, get out and shake some hands and get to know people by first names. If that was the case, then when he pulled up, he would have knew me already. He would have knew that I wasn't this fugitive he was looking for. It's, like I say, it needs to change, period.
Yeah, and Clarence, I would like to get you to elaborate a little more on. You mentioned that you were the kind of person prior to this who thought that this would never happen to you. You are, as I mentioned, you are a black man. They were looking for another black man. You have dreads. The other guy has dreads. Other than that, there's not too much of a resemblance between the two of you. Did you think that that racial profiling played a role in this? And again, how do you feel now after this, thinking that something like this wouldn't happen to you? You're a family man. You're playing with your kids. You're in your front yard. How has this changed the way you're dealing with everything now?
It changed everything. That was one of the main reasons we moved to this neighborhood, because of the heavy police presence. I thought it was a good thing. I felt like that was like free security. No one's going to break into my house if they see the police in my neighborhood all the time. And I remember telling my next door neighbor, if you do nothing wrong, you have nothing to worry about. And now my whole perception of that has changed, because I absolutely wasn't doing anything wrong, and look what happened. I mean, even my son is traumatized. Like I said, we was playing football again in the front yard, and the officer turned the corner, and my son dropped the ball and took off running, and told me, "Daddy, come on, they're coming." And it's like I don't want to see that. I tell my son, you don't run from police because you didn't do anything wrong. But he just saw his father get harassed by the police doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, and I think that's something that maybe not everybody takes into consideration, is the way that the kids, the future generations, are being affected by this. When they're seeing the videos online, they're seeing it happen to their parents and their brothers and their sisters and things of that sort. We definitely appreciate you standing up and standing your ground, and I recommend everybody check out the video. You can find it if you just search Clarence Evans. The video is all over the internet, and obviously the lawsuit's going forward now. We'll keep an eye on the situation, and we'd love to have you come back for an update in the future as this develops. Is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with? Just any final kind of closing thoughts on this situation?
Just make sure you always got your phone ready, man, because even though they're still being videoed and it's still happening, but it just sheds light on it. It's just because I do believe if my wife wasn't videoing, it probably would have ended up differently.
Yeah, absolutely. We agree with that. All right. Thank you so much, Clarence Evans, for joining us today on Freethinker Radio here on 90.1 KPFT Houston.
All right. Thank you.
And yeah, I think we've learned that over the years that there's
camera can be
a camera can equalize a situation. There's police filming the cops. It gets a bad rap, I think, where some people interpret it as antagonistic or hating on cops instead of what he just talked about, holding people accountable. I was driving down the road yesterday with my partner, and we saw the cops with their black gloves on. You know what usually happens when they put their black gloves on, and they were going to some homeless man. They were getting kind of in his face, and we were on the way somewhere, so I didn't have time to slow down. But I hate those situations. I hate that feeling of slowing, seeing the cops surrounding somebody. And again, like, who knows the situation? It could have been a violent person, etc. But just pulling over and stopping and filming can make the cops safer, because if something goes wrong and they get attacked or whatever, then you've got documentation of that. Or if the cops act, a foul, you've got documentation of that. And so it's helpful. And if you're in a community, and you're able to stop and pull over and make a little bit of effort to film with your phone, even if you don't release it, because you're like, okay, nothing happened. Cool. You were there, you documented it, and nothing got out of hand. That's a win, I think. So there's value to filming the police. And I do think, as I said, we've seen that in some cases the cops do act different with the camera on. Sometimes they don't care. But in many cases, it can hold them accountable.
And then sometimes, it's like the whole thing with body cameras, right? Because it's the same thing, right? We've seen this legislation. How many body cameras do they get? Like 1,400, 1,600 body cameras? And then, how often they have them on, or how often they have them on them.
They mysteriously turn off.
Yeah, and they don't have them on a no-knock raid, like the Tuttle raid. You've got to ask yourself sometimes about these questions, I mean, I think it's pretty important. How could just video footage of it serve anything other than the truth? I mean, yeah, you could get a narrative that says, because it is just one angle or something, but
sure,
you'd recognize that the whole time, So it's got to be better than no angle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say, is one angle is definitely better than the cases where we end up with no angle, and it's the cop's word versus any potential witnesses,
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move forward, man. I want to just give a quick 5G update in the city of Houston before we move on to bigger things. There's definitely some big stories that are happening. I mean, always in Houston, of course, Texas, and elsewhere.
Houston one as well.
So I'll just be brief with this one. I talked about this last week, and I just want to give an update because I misspoke last week, or I guess I could say I've got more information now. Last week we were talking about the neighborhood of Tanglewood here in Houston and how there's a group called Protect Tanglewood that has been pushing back to 5G cell towers in their neighborhood. And I was able to talk to someone affiliated with the organization, and they absolutely are pushing back. I was also on the phone for about an hour with the council member, District G, council member Travis's office for an hour yesterday, talking about 5G. And basically, he said, yes, there are people in Tanglewood who are pushing back. There are people in Tanglewood who are trying to stop these cell towers. He said, unfortunately, though, not only do you have the federal government FCC rule, which limits what the local governments can do, but apparently in 2017, Texas passed Chapter 284 of the Local Government Code, which also regulates how the cities can, install or place their towers. So you have both the state and the federal government trying to take away local voices on where and how and what you can do in relation to these cell sites and these towers. And I think that's pretty problematic. And basically he said, yeah, there's not much we can do. Call your state rep or call this. It's like go to a higher authority because they've taken away our powers, basically what he kind of said. But there is a good amount of people associated with the Tanglewood neighborhood who are pushing back against 5G. If you go to the Protect Tanglewood Facebook page, they have pictures that they've been taking of the towers around the neighborhood. There's a tower that is literally located on the grounds of a middle school in Tanglewood, in the neighborhood over there. There's, I was told by the council member, there's some that are 60 feet away from people's houses. There's one that's 80 feet away. And we've talked to Dr. Martin Paul in the past on our show about the health effects, the dangers associated with EMF and EMR, electromagnetic radiation, and they happen at levels that close. And the thing is, with 5G, as we said, these towers have to be installed every 200 to 500 feet. They're already being installed within less than 100 feet of people's houses. The problem's only going to grow and expand, and so whether you're concerned about it for health concerns, property rights concerns, privacy concerns, it's an issue that should, I think, be on the forefront of every Houstonian's mind. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. If you have 5G cell towers, if you've noticed them, more cell sites popping up in your neighborhood, or just something you want to share. Also, if you're involved in any community groups, neighborhood groups, and you'd like to have Freethinker Radio help you get the word out, or help us get some people to come help you in your neighborhood, then please call at 713-526-5738. And that's basically all I had to say, is just, a little bit of update. There is some neighborhoods pushing back. There's a town forum on Monday in Tanglewood that has a couple of the mayoral candidates, and I plan to go there and just show up and see what they think about 5G and see how the neighborhood's handling that, and we'll have some more updates coming for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to see people standing up and getting together and doing something in their community that they believe in. And it's just grassroots like that over there in Tanglewood. That's good. I thought this is an older one that I remember us covering here back in 2014 when this police officer, member of the HPD's, Officer Salvador Corral, was basically had a handcuffed prisoner in a holding place and was holding his head against the jail cell door. Houston police officer holds a young man's head against sky blue wall at the city lockup moments after fresh blood can be seen dripping from the wall onto the white linoleum floor of the holding cell. These images captured in 2014 surveillance videos at the facility on Reisner helped convince a federal judge this week that a federal civil rights complaint should proceed to trial against the officer. On charges, he slammed the handcuffed man's head into a metal door jamb and pressed it against the wall, causing him to lose consciousness. Back when you used to not have videos all the time, we were talking about videos, the importance of it. Back in the time, you didn't have videos all the time. They'd just be like, he caught his face up in a door jamb. It's probably an old method that he learned from some other, prime officer or something. So it turns out that after this happened, the medical provider administered 10 stitches to his forehead just to close the wound. The video of the recordings of the exchange were an essential element in convincing the judge to the claim and had merit, said the attorney Randall Callahan, who sued on behalf of the former jail detainee's father. We talk about the role of video. This is, brand new article just out this afternoon. I'd also like to think a little bit further about this because in the end, when the city does employ people that have thuggish behavior like this, that then it comes to, time for retribution, and it's the courts, when these millions of dollars go out, I mean, that costs the city a lot of money, right? I mean, how come... Look how many times we've covered these stories. It's not just that the police state is beating people and tasing people and stuff, but they're also, every one of these that is able to be convicted turns around in a civil judgment. The only way to take care of the victim is to pay their survivors, and then maybe perhaps the case of the Tuttles, if that ever happens, or, maybe pay to take care of the person or pay them back for their pain and suffering. These sort of things always turn into a monetary damage. And, where's that going to come from? It's not like they're generating a product to sell on the...
It comes from the taxpayers.
Yeah. So, it's a double whammy every time someone gets tased or beat down.
Somebody dies or in this other case here that we covered, Micah, former Harris County officer charged with raping 2 women while on duty.
And they're still asking for people to come forward.
Apparently there's probably more women. He just posted bail, though, so he's back out on the streets. This and Richard Cornejo, 37 years old, who's been indicted on 2 felony counts of sexual assault. Can you imagine this? I mean, you get arrested and it's just disturbing. But yeah, again, like you said, in that situation, who's going to pay for it? The taxpayers are going to pay in the end. Like if this guy gets housed and goes to jail, which he should, for raping 2 women while in a position of power, on duty, wearing his uniform, raping women. And now he's posted bail, and like you said, if he goes to prison or if he goes to jail or whatever, or as the court battle goes on, it's coming out of the taxpayer's pocket.
Well, if he does go to jail right now in the Harris County Jail, there are 7 cases of mumps. They're saying it's some reports are saying many more. But what's interesting is they say that they were all vaccinated, consisting of 6 inmates and 1 staff member. The Houston Health Department confirmed just late last week. Medical staff at the jail first saw symptoms of the mumps. You don't want to go to jail and get mumps, so maybe you want to not tase people or rape women or something. So it turns out that multiple patients showed up with them in May. Health Department has been visiting the jail to assist in the vaccination of staff and inmates to establish quarantine. Last week, the jail said 10 inmates showed symptoms that were in quarantine. Quote, as with any infectious disease investigation, we are looking to individual cases to identify possible contacts to ensure proper action is taken as needed to prevent this disease from spreading further. Houston's Health Local Authority and EMS Medical Director stated, we currently do not have reason to believe this outbreak has spread outside the jail.
Well, what about... Okay, all right. We'll just leave that one alone for a moment. But I did like the sort of detail that you said that the people were vaccinated.
I thought you'd find that interesting. It says mumps is passed from one person to another through saliva droplets. Just droplets of saliva out in the air.
Just floating around.
Yep. A person is contagious first 5 days, and mumps include fever, headache, muscle aches, loss of appetite, swollen glands under the ears and jaws. In fact, a person can spread mumps by coughing or sneezing.
Johnny, are you sure you don't have mumps?
Yeah, raining saliva. Just don't.
I haven't been to jail recently.
Don't rain your saliva over.
Yeah. 2 doses of the MMR vaccine. 2 doses are 88% effective against mumps. So, yeah, it turns out that CDC does recommend these, and the first is at 12 through 15 months, and the second is at 4 to 6. So, everybody, probably a lot of people are immunized against it. And I would note that this is one of those ones that got a little bit of interaction on the page, people including other stories about it. And there have been a few that have. So, like, if you're hearing this in the archive, feel free to add to it as well. But some people are reporting stories that had way more cases than that of mumps in the jail. So they didn't seem like as primary sources, so I was a little bit hesitant to go with them. But nonetheless, I got this one quote I wouldn't mind hitting real quick, and it's what you're talking about. Dr. Femster says the people may be infected because they've been vaccinated, they're not showing all the classic symptoms, swollen salivary glands. So it's kind of like stealth.
Yeah, they could still have it, still be spreading it.
Yeah. And in Temple, the mumps are now up to 49.
Interesting. I got one right here, just brief, just kind of remind you guys to clean up after yourselves. This is a Houston officials with the Buffalo Bayou Partnership. They posted on their Instagram account. Yes, the Buffalo Bayou Partnership has an Instagram account, in case you weren't following them, urging action from people in Houston after hundreds of pounds of trash were pulled from the Buffalo Bayou weekly. They're saying every week. And they posted this video. If you look at this, Micah, it's literally like a sea of trash. That's the bayou.
People don't know where that comes from. It comes from people throwing their plastic bottles out on the side of the road.
This is what they say right here. So the officials say that every week they clean hundreds of bags of trash and waste pulled from the bayou. And it looks more like a sea of trash than, a waterway in their video. And what they said was that it comes from that first one, they said every week they estimate that they clean up 700 to 900 bags of trash. 700 to 900 bags of trash from the bayou, and this comes from the most common forms are plastic bottles, styrofoam, plastic bags. And they said, quote, this is from Trudy Smith, Director and Public Relations for the Buffalo Bayou Partnership, quote, any trash that is not in a trash receptacle will flow into a storm drain during rain, then flow through the outfalls that pour into our bayous. Since most of our bayous flow into Buffalo Bayou, this historic waterway is a collection area for the majority of floatable trash. And the video
was the main artery.
The video was taken by the Buffalo Bayou Partnership's Clean and Green team. So if you're ever looking to volunteer, the Clean and Green team, they clean out the trash from the bayou every single week. Their cleanup initiatives specialize with using specially designed vacuum boat and community service workers to remove trash and debris from the waterway. And because the trash has to be separated by plastic, they said the cleanup can be a long and tedious process. And because of frequent heavy rain events in Houston, this leads to and people just throwing trash on the ground that, as I said, flows and then makes its way to the drains and then the waterways, and we end up with a bayou that nobody really wants to go near. And that sucks because, we were talking about this. I think we had this conversation recently. Can you imagine, I was thinking about or Austin and Central Texas and the waterways. Imagine if the bayou was clean, how much of a different city this would be. If there was a bayou flowing through the city that you could swim in or you could just, tube in or whatever. You know what I mean? That would make Houston a totally different city. And instead, we've got a mountain of trash flowing.
And hundreds of cars in it. And
yeah, there's cars and all kinds of things in there. So, I just wanted to
my biggest pet peeve
throw that out there.
You're sitting behind somebody in traffic. You just see them stick a bag of fast food. It's always fast food.
Yeah,
a McDonald's cup, right out their window.
Well, if these things were made out of, they have bio materials. Actually, they have
hemp?
Corn, and hemp. These things that look just like plastic containers that we're used to seeing that break down. Remember, they used to have the chips that would be put in those type of bags that would break down. What happened to them? Sun chips.
They said people that didn't like the bags because they were too noisy, so they went back to the yellow bags.
The bags were too noisy?
Literally, I forget what brand that was. They had brand new, more environmentally friendly bags, and they were apparently too hard to open, or they were louder or something.
Why are you eating them in such a quiet place?
But like you said, Micah, there's a role, I think, for the business person who could step up and say, hey, we're going to, not to say, hey, yeah, go ahead and throw it in the ground because it'll break down or whatever.
No, but at least it's something rather than being painted into a corner of styrofoam and plastic things clogging up the waterway.
And it sucks, man, because I live over in Fifth Ward, and honestly, there's all over Fifth Ward. There's parts of Houston, the undeveloped, again, these empty lots. They're just sitting there, vacant lots, piling up with trash and whatever else. People look for okay, well, I don't want this couch anymore. I guess I'll take it over here to this lot and just dump it. Or, like you said, Johnny, just throwing things out the window. I've definitely seen that around town. And it goes in the bayou. So quit being crappy and clean up where you can. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, get it into a container, get it into a compost, get it into trash if it's trash.
Clean your room. If you're not gonna, your room.
If you're going to throw it somewhere, just throw it on the side of your bed. Yeah, just throw it on your foot of your bed. If you're going to throw it out, just think about that. You're throwing it out.
No, seriously, I invite you guys to take the low waste challenge for 1 day even, or 7 days if you can make it. Just keep all the trash you make in a bag, in one bag, and just keep it with you around your house. And you'll start to see, once you're living in it, how much, you got to deal with it instead of just, out of sight, out of mind,
I think one of the main littering things that people don't realize is cigarette butts, man. People just... That's there's got to be more cigarette butts in the water that will never get back. You know what I mean?
And then whatever else is in those cigarettes.
That's just the floatable trash that they're pulling out of the river. What's not floating,
Yeah, and then, whatever else is inside the cigarettes and the different toxins and chemicals and things that are going to leach out there. But, yeah, so I think the city could be totally different. The bayou could be a totally different experience if we took care of it more. And thankfully, there are some volunteers out there. That's cool. I might go check out that group and, put some time in, because it does suck doing a bike ride down the trails that follow the bayou and just seeing trash all along it. But, yeah. What else you got going on, Micah?
Not much else local.
I got some big stuff elsewhere, so we're going to
They say that Texas homeowners are going to get some extra tools to fight property taxes under a new law. It's supposed to make things more streamlined, but I don't want to go into
is that
details.
What they say?
Yeah, we'll see. I'll see it when I believe it. But I got all kinds of stuff going on all over the world. They got riots in where's that? In Mississippi?
Yeah, I saw that for the cop shooting.
Yep. Hong Kong got a million people on the street
protesting a new law that they say will allow basically the Chinese government to have more control over Hong Kong. One big story that I want to just get into for a few moments has to do with Iran that we've been talking,
shooting
touching on.
ships. Yeah, right.
So this is something that we've talked about this before, and I do think so. Right now, what's going on, for those who do not know, of course,
sinking
there's
ships.
Ramping up of geopolitical back and forth between Iran, the United States, and of course Russia and Syria. But in this specific case, the United States government, the Trump administration, more specifically Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and John Bolton, who has been around since the George W. Bush days, who has been saying he wanted to go bomb Iran for more than a decade now, who last year gave a speech where he told the MEK, which by some countries is seen as a terrorist group active in Iran, that they would be celebrating in Tehran in 2019 because the United States was going to help them come into power. So all of that information, and the United States people are now being told, this on the front page of CNN and everywhere else, that Iran has just attacked a ship. And, well, Trump says he's certain it's them. Pompeo said that they know it was Iran. They have all the signs, and they released this grainy black and white video that they said shows an Iranian boat coming back to the scene of the crime to remove a mine that didn't explode, and it just happened to not explode. And so now they have evidence that it was coming from the Iranian government. It seems to be quite coincidental, and everything's just fallen into place for the U.S. However, there are some new comments from Yutaka Kadada, who's the president of Kokoku Sangyo, the owner and the operator of the Kokoku Courageous, which was the one of the ships that was attacked just in the past couple of days, said Friday that he doesn't completely believe Washington's version of events. He said the vessel wasn't damaged by a mine, but by some kind of projectile like a torpedo. Yep. He called the reports of a mine attack, quote, false. And one reason he said is because a mine doesn't damage a ship above sea level like what we're seeing with the Courageous. Quote, a mine doesn't damage a ship above sea level. We aren't sure exactly what hit, but it was something flying towards the ship. Another is because of a suspicious sighting by some of the crew, which Bloomberg reported on. According to the CEO, again, this is the guy who owns the ship that was attacked, that the U.S. is saying was attacked by Iran. Sailors on board the Courageous saw, quote, flying objects just before the ship was hit, suggesting the vessel wasn't damaged by mines, but by objects that could have been fired from a distance. And his comments contradict Washington's allegations of a mine attack, though the CEO did mention that his crew had spotted an Iranian Navy ship nearby around the time of the attack, though he didn't say whether it was before or after. And the Courageous was carrying 225,000 tons of methanol from Saudi Arabia to Asia. Of course, Saudi Arabia and the U.S. have all come out and said, yes, this is the doing of Iran. And interestingly enough, the timing of this is another reason some people are skeptical, is because this is a Japanese ship, right, a Japanese company. And at the same time that this attack apparently took place, Iranian officials, senior Iranian officials, were meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe about new trade deals between them. So what they're claiming here is that at the time that the Iranian government is meeting with the head of the Japanese government to make new trade deals, they chose to attack a Japanese ship. And the U.S. government is blaming the Iranian military for attacking several other ships over the last month. And unfortunately, this might be used as some justification for at least ramping up, what are they called, sanctions on Iran. But as I said, more. What are sanctions? Sanctions are acts of war. The people suffer, not the top officials. It's always going to attack the people at the bottom, just the average person who's going to suffer. And as I said, John Bolton, when you know who John Bolton is, and you know his history, and you look into him, this guy has been wanting to go to war with Iran for a long time. He was with the Bush administration. He's now with the Trump administration. All I'm saying is there's reason to be skeptical of what they're telling us. Who do we got on the line with us?
MOD.
Hey, how's it going, MOD?
All right, I swapped over. Did y'all talk about also that the footage of the Iranian ship?
Yeah.
Going back was actually taking passengers off into safety.
No, that's what the ship's actually doing?
Yeah, they returned, and this is from the Japanese folks. They were saying, well, yeah, they were projectiles. They were, like you said, your analysis on what that object was that struck them. It was not a mine, and then they also said the Iranians were there to help them to offboard people off the ship. So it sounds like the same old story, doesn't it?
Why would the Trump administration and CNN be lying to me, MOD?
Why would he do what?
Why would the Trump administration and CNN lie to me?
Well, let's just say Jared Kushner, Benjamin Netanyahu have a firm grip on his staff. And, it's just a matter of time, right? As you mentioned, Bolton, promised, the sponsored terrorists from, I'm not going to say which country, but I think you might know where I'm be leading to, or NATO at least, that is a bundle of countries. Or like when Cheney was in his last venture, he was on a carrier in the Persian, pointed up, stuck in the corner where it was carrier couldn't turn around. When Cheney was in office before he left, they were getting ready to strike Tehran for a 3-hour campaign. And it was a drill. They were on ready prep for like 2 weeks. It was like that close back then, before Junior and Cheney left office. So this has been on the books for some time, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so, man. So what do you think we're going to see a ramp up? I mean, like I said, on CNN.com, they're doing a play-by-play. Like every couple minutes, there's an update on the developing situation. And obviously, this is what they want people to be paying attention to tonight during the nightly news cycle. Do you think that these people are brazen enough to actually go for war, or we're just going to see more sanctions, or what's your thoughts?
Well, that's the only thing left is Iran, right? And then, they tried to do it when Junior was in office. Obama gave the establishment, reins to take down Libya and start the occupation of North Syria. This is part of a greater, what I think, Derrick, is a bigger scheme that when I hear that Linguingus Nam Chomsky say it last year at a couple colleges, I'm starting to hear it even from that Rick Sanchez guy that went to RT, that there should be a greater Kurdistan. And so this will fall more along the lines of a bigger framework, Derrick, that, we probably will go take Iran eventually. And I think it's now, it looks like, they're going to do the Gulf of Tonkin, right? You remember what happened there, right?
Yeah.
And so the bigger picture would be the northern greater Kurdistan. So meaning across northern Syria from Turkey, the bottom of Iraq over to Iran, that would be basically for the Kurds that deserve that area, right? And that's going to is what we're seeing transpire. The occupation of Syria and the upper half of Syria is where all the LG gas and minerals and oil is. And it's funny, isn't it, Derrick, that since 2011 you have Britain, France, China, Iran, Russia, United States, like all in northern Syria. I'm trying to bring in a bigger picture, Derrick, that, it's going to happen in Iran, and this fits a bigger narrative that will occupy that area of Middle East.
I think you're correct with that, brother. Well, we're going to have to leave it there for the moment. Please stay tuned, man, and if we got some more time, we'll take another call, and we'll see you on Monday. All right, man. So we just wanted to share that information with you. Of course, we're willing to take more calls, 713-526-5738, and we still have those tickets. We have tickets to local brews and local grooves. It's House of Blues this Saturday night. Lots of breweries, local breweries, music, and you can support KPFT. So what do you got, Micah?
Oh, my goodness, all kinds of news going on. So we should maybe talk about what's going on in Memphis.
Yeah, I've seen that. There's been like a couple of days of riot, or what they're calling riots, at least. They
say 36 officers have been hurt and 2 journalists.
I saw that there was like bricks being thrown through cop cars and things like that. Let me see if I can pull something up. But it started over a shooting, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. What I remember that I read, there was a person who was wanted, basically, and the marshals, federal marshals, were involved in getting the guy, and then after that, things kind of went awry. I don't know. Maybe we should take a
quick music.
I have no computer.
I got it here right here. Well, at least tell everybody a little bit while Johnny pulls up a song. So this is last night. Memphis police on high alert after protests. Level 3 means that all officers will be working with no off days. So they were on level 3 in Memphis, Tennessee. And Brandon Weber was shot and killed by authorities on Wednesday as U.S. Marshals attempted to arrest him, according to the Tennis Bureau of Investigation. He's a 20-year-old, graduated high school in 2017.
So young.
Court documents show that he had previous interactions with police. Hours after his shooting death, protesters rallied, threw bricks at police, and vandalized squad cars. At least 24 officers and 2 journalists were injured during the protest. So this happened Wednesday. We're here on Friday now, 2 days out, and it doesn't look like things are probably going to slow down. Yesterday, reporting more than a dozen police vehicles were damaged. They're showing windows shattered and things of that sort. So it's another situation that, like, it's hard to just go right ahead and say what exactly happened. This guy was this young kid, like 20 years old, wanted by the federal authorities, the U.S. Marshals. They're attempting to arrest him for something, and he ends up being shot and killed. Now, either way, whatever the guy is wanted for, whatever the case may be, whatever the indictment would have been, obviously him ending up dead is probably not the way that anybody would want things to go, I would say, unless the cops are coming in straight ready for that. And the community's going to respond. The community comes out. The police say that he rammed them and had a weapon. That's what the police are saying.
Wow.
That he had a weapon in his hand. He tried to come at them, and so they shot him. And now the community is erupting in Memphis, Tennessee. And Memphis mayor says that protesters are targeting police cars and the fire station over the last couple of days.
So the way this news is spinning, it sounds like it's more just some venting against the police rather than like maybe the police. It doesn't sound like a Tuttle incident or this one with Clarence Evans where they're just clearly overstepping. It sounds like they went to arrest someone. Things went awry. They tried to ram them and fight back, and then it got.
I think this is important, though, while this is why investigations have to happen, right? Because what did they first say with the Tuttles?
Exactly.
The Tuttles shot back. The Tuttles did this. The dog came after them. Now
rammed us.
Now we know that private, forensic evidence shows the dog was 15 feet away from the door. The shots were coming from outside the house, not from inside the house, and things like that. So yeah, it's really I think an understandable position for somebody to be skeptical as when the cops say, "Oh, well, we were under attack, we shot somebody." You know what I mean? And then details come out later. Like this case we were talking earlier. Were there body cameras on these U.S. Marshals? Were there any witnesses? Like these are the kind of things that hopefully some real investigative journalists in Memphis or anybody there
would think that
behind.
These people that are passionate about it, these all the people that are on the street would be spreading that information. If nothing else, if there were, I'm not saying that they haven't been. I just don't know because we're not that close, and that's kind of what happens, when the news is on lockdown by just a few groups.
Yeah, exactly. They can control the narratives. I do know that Brandon Weber, which is the young man's name again, was trending on Twitter at some point. So if anybody's interested in looking into this, I would say just search that hashtag Brandon Weber, and I'm sure you'll see some different things pop up on your feed, and we'll keep an eye on that and see where that goes from here.
Texas chain Whataburger got sold away.
Micah's thinking about food again.
Yeah, pizza. They don't serve pizza.
We do accept pizza donations.
We love pizza.
We specifically Freethinker Radio.
Yeah, it should only come like 3 to
care of Freethinker Radio
around 3 p.m. on Fridays or
directly
4 to 6
addressed to Freethinker Radio
on Mondays.
All right,
Monday's good because we have a lot of time to get into the pizza and talk about the pizza, and appreciate you for sending us the pizza. JJ Colgate has been ordered to pay $10 million in California tout cancer case just recently from baby powder, people getting mesothelioma. Yep.
Another important thing we should mention is that there is an update in the Assange case that we've been following now. WikiLeaks founder, who's been sentenced to 50 weeks in jail in the UK already. U.S. government U.S. Department of Justice seeking to extradite him on 17 charges related to the Espionage Act, which some people fear that they might try to put him to death or at the least in prison for the rest of his life. And the UK Home Secretary Sajid Javid revealed just the other day that he has already signed the U.S. extradition request, putting WikiLeaks founder one step closer to being sent to American soil, where he was never been. He's not a citizen. He was Australian, and the U.S. government is trying to bring him over here to have him face 18 counts of violating the Espionage Act. Meanwhile, Chelsea Manning is still being held as well for refusing to participate in the grand jury that was convened.
Such had a right to remain silent.
To go after him. No, not in the United States of America. You did not have a right to.
I thought you had a Fifth Amendment.
You have very limited amendment rights.
She does have the right to remain silent, and they're just going to use force to make her miserable for doing it.
Well, you know what, Micah, just to put this into context with what's happening with Assange and Chelsea Manning, that the U.S. government, according to the Global Peace Ranking, right, there's an organization that Global Peace Index. The United States has dropped 4 spots on the four more spots. We're on a tumble in the Global Peace Index.
Same thing on the Freedom Index.
And so we are now, the United States is ranked 128th most peaceful country in the world, 1 above Saudi Arabia, the same country that is literally about to crucify a 16-year-old kid for protesting.
Yep.
We're 1 above a country that's crucifying people. That does, that just recently said that women can drive, and just beheads people
in peace.
Yeah, we're 128th in peace. So who are the real terrorists in this, kind of world where they got military bases all over and people are, everyone else is being accused of terrorism and they're coming after us. We got to spread freedom and democracy. Who are the real aggressors in this situation?
Probably Oakland, California, from what I understand, because they just decriminalized magic mushrooms, ayahuasca, peyote, and iboga.
You can't have that.
And we got like over 60 people responding to this, the post on that, the secondary post on that on Freethinker Radio. So it's probably those people.
Can't have that. And, speaking of, the power of magic mushrooms, because that's Denver, that's Oakland, maybe somebody in Houston might consider doing that.
Crazy freedom people, man.
Because of the research, though, around psilocybin, which is aka magic mushrooms, we're moving closer and closer. There's been research from the London's Imperial College, Johns Hopkins University. There are some estimates that within the next 5 years, there will be certain psychologists that are able to administer doses of psilocybin for antidepressants
maybe they want
instead of pharmaceuticals. Imagine that, Micah.
Yeah, but that's not good because, see, then what will happen in stories like this? A drug company unit pleads guilty to opioid bribery scheme. Who will bribe the government if things that just grow in the ground are, able to be used as medicine?
These are the deep questions we stay up at night trying to answer. Who will bribe the government without Big Pharma?
It turns out, they pled guilty. That ought to tell you something. If the drug company bothers to plead guilty, okay,
they know there's
fraud
nothing they can do.
And bribery, that means they're paying so little on that fine. And just check it out. They were bribing doctors to prescribe, you're going to love it, fentanyl spray.
Wow. Yeah, that's some dangerous stuff.
Because it needs to come in a spray.
Yeah, because that'll.
That's one that was an epidemic.
Yeah, it still is.
Mostly up north. I've seen a lot of traveling bands. They've lost a lot of friends that way.
I don't doubt it at all. The opioid crisis really hit home after we invaded the poppy fields of Afghanistan. How strange that is.
Yeah, all of a sudden the opioids are popping up everywhere. Micah, this is a sad sign for 2019. A new study suggests that many U.S. kids are still eating Tide Pods.
Oh, God.
This is
you get one bad trend started and they don't stop.
It says many American children are still being poisoned by laundry pods, according to a new study that suggests voluntary safety standards might not do enough to prevent kids from realizing you don't eat Tide Pods.
Well, they're so colorful.
Yeah, you just eat color now. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're in 2019 and kids are eating Tide Pods still. I thought that was just a 2018 thing and we were gonna not ever talk about it again, but
bad ideas, they just keep going.
Did someone die from that? You gotta be hospitalized. You could die from that.
There's some really bad challenges out there that people have died from. And I don't know, I imagine the Tide Pod, but there's a boiling water one that I hate to even have said.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I want to issue a challenge, clean up the bayou challenge.
Yeah, that sounds like a real one. How about not throwing out your own trash, getting
support
it into...
Support KPFT challenge.
Yeah, support KPFT challenge.
No Tide. I mean, I can't use.
Be
the Tide
happy
Pods.
despite it all.
Maybe for a donation, Derrick will start eating Tide Pods.
No, it's going to take a lot of donations.
I'm just no.
Maybe if it's baked on a pizza. No.
Next thing you know, they'll be expecting me to eat a Tide Pod.
One last story I want to mention because we talked about amendments here. Micah, you're talking about some amendments a moment ago. Well, right now the ACLU is trying to defend First Amendments in the United States, specifically in South Dakota. We talked about this briefly a couple months back. South Dakota and now a couple other states, including Texas, have considered these laws are being called riot boosting acts, where it basically criminalizes protest, and it says that activists who protest or encourage or organize protest against pipelines or other infrastructure could face fines, civil liabilities, or criminal penalties up to 25 years in prison. South Dakota has one of the most extreme laws.
It's already illegal to plan a crime. So if it's not a crime that you're going to commit in your protest, why would it be a crime to protest?
And the problem is some of this language makes it sound like even if you were to hey, donate to help us send our guys to go to this protest, that you would be
a terrorist.
What is it, an accessory
funding
to the crime
terrorists.
Or something like that. Exactly. It's very similar. So the ACLU and Dakota Rural Action versus NOAM is taking on 3 South Dakota laws. So we'll keep our eyes on that as it develops. But just know there are people out there trying to fight for your amendments, stand up for what's right, and we're trying to bring you guys the news. We appreciate.
On a happier note, Maine became the 8th state to legalize assisted suicide.
Oh, crap. I don't know if that's happier or not. But we want to give a shout-out and thank you again to Clarence Evans for coming on the show earlier, to sharing his story with us. Again, we do think it's valuable to share these stories. And honestly, but despite everything that did happen to him, he's alive. He's speaking his truth.
And that's important.
He's getting the message out there, and
others see that this is happening and become encouraged to do this. He got the message out about the camera. I mean, even if nothing else, and he said he didn't want the guy taking him because the guy was afraid. he didn't even get enough to how he had the right not to be like taken away by someone, but that's enough. It doesn't matter. All of us have reasons not to be wanting to be taken away. So it's good to get that perspective and, hear how he had to do this in front of his children. And someone else out there will now know to get that camera out when they see it happening. You can not even be involved. Just stand there and film it. That goes a long way. I mean, for sure. Thanks again, Clarence Evans, for standing up and getting that information out there. We know it's always difficult in those moments, and then afterwards, you don't know what's going to happen. They monitor you, they do these things, et cetera, et cetera. But it takes a lot of courage. These little stands, they all add up, because otherwise they're going to keep it up.
Got to keep taking a stand if you're going to
We'll win the last moment. We love y'all.
This is it, guys. We'll be back on Monday on the HD side from 4 to 6 p.m., and we're here, of course, every Friday from 3 to 4. Stay tuned. We got some good music coming your way. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, you are free. Peace.
Peace.